we ready?
Turn that shit up. You have now entered Staying On Point, powered by Digital Sucker Punch. Discussing all things business, fitness, and marketing. You're about to go on a deep dive interviewing some of the best in the business when it comes to thought leaders, entrepreneurship, and business. Buckle up, put your seatbelts on, you're in for a ride. Welcome back for another episode of Staying On Point. Today's guest is someone that I've been looking forward to chatting to for a long time. I would say, some might say, and this is no reflection of his chronological age, but he is possibly the grandfather of e-commerce and digital marketing, purely because when we look at digital marketing and the digital marketing space, 1 month is equivalent to the 1 year in the real world. And, you know, this guy has been around, knows it all. And I'm very excited to pick his brain today. Please welcome to Staying On Point, my main man, Phil Kyprianou, if I'm getting that right. Now we're just waiting for that dual screen to come across. And here we go, patched in, buddy. Little bit of a glitch there, but hey, welcome along. Thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Hey, thank you very much. That's amazing, Dave. Thank you for having me with you today.
My pleasure. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction, it's you're someone that I've seen around, from when I very first started getting into e-commerce. Like I've been in business for many years, but e-commerce since probably around 2015, 2016. And I've always seen you in the groups. I've always seen you put you as what we would consider a trusted authority in the space. And then I think probably about a couple of years back when I joined the Cartels Mastermind, which we're both in, and I saw that you were in the Cartels Mastermind, I automatically went all fanboy. I was like, oh, Phil Kyprianou's in the mastermind. I get to talk to him as a peer. And, ever since then, I've been very excited. And, I'm grateful that we get to speak to you today, pick your brain and, really geek out on all things digital marketing, e-commerce, learn about what you've been up to, where you've been, your new ventures, because I know you got a lot of exciting stuff on the plate at the moment, which I definitely want to dive into and, uncover all that is Phil Kyprianou. So hailing from Quebec, Montreal. Have I got that right?
Yeah,
beautiful.
Exactly. You got that right.
We've got it right. We've got Phil Kyprianou. So, mate, give us a little bit of background on yourself. How did you get into the whole marketing thing, the digital marketing thing, specifically the e-commerce thing? What's your humble beginnings?
I would say, started like around 17 years ago, basically. It has been like a journey since then. So basically, I was running between 2000 and 2003 a recording studio back then. We were recording artists and things like that. And we found the market changing very fast because it was getting accessible to get a home studio. Just before that time, it was super expensive to get hardwares or anything to record things, and right now, like you can see, we're doing podcasts with a mic here and things like that. But a couple of years ago, back then it was not possible. You couldn't have like that kind of setup for a very reasonable price. And around 2000, I would say 2000 with all the MP3 industry, let's say, because at that time everything was pirated. It was starting like people were ripping CDs, bringing that to their computer, starting to move, huge library, and you got like this new support also at that point. That where you were able to bring your MP3s to a special device, and there was no, Apple, iMusic or whatsoever, iPod or whatsoever at that point. It was all, electronic industry that was there, that was trying, to put their place. Sony was there, Ryko was there, brands that, you don't even think, they would have been in that space, but there was, a lot of things. And we've seen like the market moving very fast there. And we've seen also our revenues at that point going drained because the music industry was changing and the users were now able to record their own stuff at home, without the needs of the big equipments and the big computers and all this kind of stuff, And so I had a background also in radio. So I was, very young age, I was introduced to radio, to radio, as a host, also as a DJ as well. So yeah. So that's very, very back then.
DJ PK.
Yeah. I used to do raves and all this kind of stuff.
I bet,
you can imagine. And so basically, my partner and I mean, decided that, we were super passionate about music. There was no channels out there, music channels that was playing hip hop or electronic music. So there was an opportunity market there for us to jump in and start, streaming music online. And this is where basically my journey in terms of marketing and digital marketing started, because we had to find ways to attract people to listen to our radio, to come to our website. And basically, the ways at that time, we didn't knew anything about really what we know right now, in terms of platforms and anything like that. And we went the hard way, very old school guerrilla marketing,
Nice.
doing
Nice.
flyers, going into events, and all this kind of stuff that still works today. But was primarily how you could reach people for very cheap at that point, And we grew very good, very fast at a certain point where we were in the top 10 of radios in Canada, and even side by side with very known FM radios, and that brought us to start working with big agencies that were buying space on our platform. And this is really where we started to understand the value of the CPM, value of an estate on a website, how much you could sell, and the mailing list as well, So
the owned audience.
The owned audience. So we had a lot of emails back then. And I'm going to tell you now, we were not using it the right way back then, but it was one of the way we were able to make a lot of money out of it. And it's still relevant today, so we know that emails are still working, and it was working back then. And we were able basically to monetize, and up to a certain point that I could say that we're probably the most revenue generating radio at that point, or probably even like profitable radio, internet radio at that point, because there was a lot of people that were trying underground radios, and even like some that got at that point funded by VCs, and they crashed all the way because they didn't put the money at the right place. And in 2007, if I remember, it's exactly when Facebook came in the game, really, in terms of getting to everyone. And this is where things changed drastically for us, but for a lot of platforms, we've seen MySpace, but even like locally, there was a lot of platforms, kind of platforms that are like, matching people together,
Sure.
things like that, like a Friendsters, and it's where at that point that traffic changed from day and night, like, if we can say that,
Sure.
basically we went like 50% off our traffic. We lost it to Facebook, and our revenues suffered because of that, because basically we didn't have enough people, to value the price we were charging for our audience, and a bunch of other things like that had happened. So we had to find ways. We didn't knew really how to leverage social media at that point because it was very new. We started a magazine. We started a clone version of YouTube, because YouTube back then also was pretty new, and there was like a lot of people trying, and it was even not bought by Google at that point, so people were trying, to mimic that. And we tried as well, to have our own platform and doing kinds of stuff like that. And we had, up to a certain point, acquired a lot of knowledge in terms of buying media online, knowing what was working, dealing with agencies, and started also because of all these years that we built very good relationship with people that were spending either money or where we were going on festivals and buying space and all this kind of stuff. We made a very good network of people where we said, you know what, okay, it's probably not like it used to be, but why not using the knowledge that we acquired during all this year and trying to turn that into dollars. So my partner and I decided at that point that we were going to open our first agency, basically based on that. And we were trying to find really an angle where people.
Hey Phil, just to sorry to interrupt and interrupt your flow. Can I just get you to shuffle over just to your left a little bit, just to your left hand side? Perfect.
Oh,
and then
there we go.
We'll get you in screen just that little bit. Right now, you're dropping out in and out of that screen. I didn't want to ruin your flow, but I had to wait for that perfect time.
Because I was going like that.
Yeah. You're like you're getting into it. Like emotion creates emotion, and I love it. Thank you very much. But we want to see the face. So please continue. Sorry.
So we had to find an angle, basically, where to position it ourselves, because there were a lot of agencies out there that were all doing like exactly the same stuff, selling either their time, selling space, or selling whatever. I mean, they were selling. But the one thing we found out is, whatever they were selling, it was not possible to measure anything. It was always, okay, we're gonna buy, I don't know, like this many spots. So how many people are going to view to see that? I mean, probably this much, because it's at that time, and from the past surveys we did, it was that, but it was not very tangible, and we really didn't like that model at that point. So we decided to go into something that we found that was much more, I would say, first of all, measurable, but where also we could prove the return on investment to our clients.
That's important.
So that's where we went. So we went into much more what now we know as performance agencies that back then in 2007, 2008 was absolutely non-existent. And we were doing mostly lead generation. So generating leads for mortgage company, insurance company, real estates, car companies, car dealerships, or anything like that. And the model really worked very well, because at that point, in 2007, if you were there, or people that are listening that were there, Google AdWords was super cheap. It was super easy to generate leads for dollars, pennies,
you
or
could
whatsoever.
own words like anything, like cheap, nothing.
Exactly. So it was like very easy. And also we were doing a lot of contests, and doing contests on Google AdWords again was super profitable. We know how this works already on Facebook and the kind of results that you can get. But back then, it was, Google was dominating that space, and it was easy to generate very good leads. And we were marking up, these leads to our clients, which made a good profit, and we're even able to guarantee a number of leads, something that is very hard today, because the fluctuation of the CPM and the dollar in ads are almost impossible now to predict. From one day you can go like, what? Everything is amazing. You get super nice ROAS, and the next day it's down the hole, and so that model back then was working great. And at a certain point, in my journey and my partner's journey, we had basically different goals, I would say. And he was the guy who was driving everything in terms of guerrilla marketing, events, and things like that. This was really his passion. And he decided to go that route. And I decided to continue my route much more on the digital marketing side. And up to the point, I worked with different company, a media company, and then an event company. And during that time, I was, going around, trying to find stuff. And I came on the Warrior Forum because I was curious about the new strategy, SEO strategy that I've heard at that point. And I got on that guy called, I don't know, I think he's still in the space, but a guy called Bruce Wedding. I remember, his course. It was something like a $49 course.
Nice.
Was teaching how to sell T-shirt on Teespring doing names, basically. I don't know if you remember that. You could you could have a saying with the name of the people, and to do that, you had to scrape Facebook basically to grab this name, build custom audience from that, and start selling. So that was really, I would say, the official entering into the e-commerce game, because I had like other tried out here and there with eBay, doing like some arbitrage stuff, and never lift up until that point that really everything blew up right there. And yeah, I don't remember exactly, I think 2013 or something like that. So it was really, really the early days of I would say the second wave of e-commerce. And Facebook was changing. The ads platform was changing. It was starting at that point, really. You were able still to sell on Facebook since 2008, I think, to 2009, if I remember, banners. At that point. But,
right hand side. I wasn't there in that time, but it was all right hand side sort of stuff, if I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And back then, and then they came with their platform. They made like multiple updates, and it's really in 2015 that things started like crazy with arbitrage, drop shipping, the early days of drop shipping. And I would say that at that point, again, things evolved. I got out of Teespring basically because, the platform was owned by them. It's not because it was not a good platform. It was easy to launch campaigns. It was easy to run ads and everything, but we couldn't own the data. So
it's a bit of an Amazon model, is it?
Exactly. Amazon model. So they owned everything. They were managing the email, the retargeting part even, because they were having their own retargeting for their own platform. So we never knew if, the sales were attributed to us or to them or anything like that. But, we didn't have like that kind of control. So,
but you were making money. That's all that mattered at that time.
Making money. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and I think it's still a great platform, to learn from if you want to start. You don't have, and any kind of these type of platform. There's Gear Bubble out there. There's a bunch of other ones that are very cool, I think, to start, especially when you don't want to get into the tech side, or you want to do that part time for fun. You don't want, to get all these headaches that comes with it, So, I jumped into that. And got very good success very fast. So basically at that point, in 2015, I was still working for the event company, selling t-shirt part-time for fun, and managing like two groups at that point, because I had like the Teespring strategy group, and I started to build in January 2015 the Shopify strategy group, after where I was just, going there, sharing what I was doing online, giving like for free my tips and tricks of the days of what I was learning.
And this is almost like that second wave of Facebook success, Facebook ads coming into 15, 16, 17, that period. For me, that was the golden days. That's when I got into that. This is that second wave, I'd imagine, for you.
So you got in at the right time.
Yeah. Now we all hurt.
Yeah. But it's never, it's never a bad time. It was probably easier in terms of the cost and the time you took to learn. Right now, everything is so fast. So when you enter in the market, you need to be fast. You need to be very reactive to be able to move on. If not, you're going to get hidden by someone else, and especially now because there's so many advertisers, so many merchants. So, and I'm saying like how people could be aggressive soon as they see you have a very similar product than yours, and they want to try to sell or, redo it or anything like that. So, and at that point, I remember, I got in, and this is where we're going to GothRider. I got in,
which I'll dive into. Definitely, that's the topic I really want to. Because this is where I know you. You're GothRider. GothRider equals Phil Kyprianou.
There you go. So I started, when I switched from Teespring to Shopify, I decided to bring all my designs and everything on Shopify. So I moved there, start selling directly on Shopify. Things were good, and like I was saying, I was working at this event company and doing that part-time and started to making really much more money than my salary there. And I said to my wife, I'm just bored. I cannot leave like that, because I've been most of my life an entrepreneur working for myself. It was like jumping there, an opportunity. Yeah, it was fun because I loved marketing and I love events. It was a good fit. The crew there was cool, learned a lot of stuff, but it was time for me to move on. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go full time in, put all my energy. And I remember living that next month, going to San Diego with my new child and everything, and starting selling stuff like crazy. And I couldn't imagine, even like I was on vacation, some sort with my kid, and living a bit, like the lifestyle, like they say, like live the life type business. It was what I was living at that point. And I said to myself, I really want to continue to work in that kind of lifestyle. This is really what I'm for, too. And it grew very fast. About, if I remember, like something in 8 months. So 8 months after, I was hitting my first $1 million revenues. And that was 2 months or something like that after going to a very big mastermind with Donald Wilson, another grandfather of digital marketing.
I was going to say you, Donald Wilson, and I think Chris Blair might be. Is it? I think you.
Yeah, Chris Blair has been there also. Chris Blair is my former mentor.
Yeah.
In selling T-shirts online, so he teach me that. And 2 months after, this mastermind again changed a lot of stuff. It's certainly in the mindset. Like, people don't understand, and we're part of the same mastermind cartels, and it's a lot about the mindset. Yes, we're giving tips and tricks and things like that, but when we're all together, it's where things happen, basically, and opens new doors, new vision, and it pushes you to go to the next level. And basically these 2 months triggered, if I remember, something like $400,000 of revenues, because I was something around 600,000 at that point. And 2 months later, I was hitting like that $1 million revenues. And everything changed for that. But a lot of things changed also in the way I was looking at e-commerce, and GothRider was there at that point, but was again a drop shipping business. So at that point, GothRider was not even really a brand. It was a drop shipping business. No real vision. The only reason I created GothRider because at the beginning I was selling on a general, store where everything was there. I was selling to nurse, policemen, bikers, and whatsoever. And I got like this huge success at that point. If I remember, necklace, and it went very good. And then after that, I sold like a bunch of stuff. Then after a watch, I think is when the watch came in, we sold 4,000 of them in 6 weeks.
I remember that watch.
I remember that. So that was, something like crazy. And it's at that point I said, you know what, I think I'm going to move everything that is related to bikers and skulls and all this kind of thing into one store. And like that, if someone comes, they will see that, products that resembles, that are similar, so which made much more sense. And so to jump over, let's say after the mastermind, I went. This is where really the decision came into. Okay, I'm going to start really building a brand around GothRider, starting to work much more on the image, on the philosophy, and everything that goes with it. I did that. I stick to that. I stick also to continue to sell stuff from China. And at a certain point, things didn't get well for different reasons. So one reason was for sure, I mean, quality of stuff that I was receiving, quality, the thing also that, the timeline that I was receiving the stuff. And another thing also that came is at that point, I mean, I was getting very noticeable in that niche, and a lot of people started to copy me. So, and they were cutting on prices, you know, trying to gather. Even like I got like copycat, but real copycat people copying exactly the same look and feel and everything, images and everything.
That's bittersweet, isn't it? Because that's a level of success that you've achieved, but also they're taking your audience, they're taking your revenue, they're taking your livelihood.
Exactly. But, you know, I still had the dream at that point, you know, I should do something much more that will continue to resonate, but that can grow with time also, not just, you know, flipping cash business. So it's where, I mean, and it took me time, you know, basically it took me a lot of time to arrive to a certain point there. And I'm still not there, and it's going to take like a couple of years. But like they say, you know, it takes about like 15 years to build a brand. So I still have the time.
It takes 10 years to make it overnight success.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So at that point also, you know, there were things going on. I had a fulfillment center in Atlanta, and it was costing me, you know, at the end of the year, I look at the final year, you know, sheet, and I look at the cost. It was like crazy. So I said, you know what? Okay, let's go back to drop shipping. Didn't work out again as well because of the customer experience stuff that was never good. Yeah. Then I said, you know what? And that was, I think, around 2017. I don't exactly remember, but I think that was at that point where I said, you know what? Let's start building our own product from scratch, you know. So I got into jewelry. I started to make contacts in that business, really with real jeweler, real artisan jeweler. We started prototyping a couple of stuff, starting, you know, to make sure that the process and the things could work. And we did that in Montreal, actually. So I decided, you know, to move everything I was doing from China to Montreal and starting, you know, almost like from scratch, from building that thing there. And it went very good, I would say, but not at the volume point, because we were not any more competitive with similar jewelry, I would say, that is made in China. And most of the people, you know, looked at jewelry almost like a commodity. There's a very small amount of people, really, when you take, you know, the whole pie, that are ready to pay, you know, multiple thousands of dollars, or they have like enough revenues to say, you know, I'm going to allocate thousands of dollars for this type of jewelry and this kind of stuff. You know, you either super passionate if you don't have cash, or you have, you know, a lot of cash and you can say, you know, let's, you know, just spend there. So we're always, you know, balancing in terms of, you know, not doing what I was expecting, always battling also with the cost of ads and things like that, because acquiring customers to sell a ring at $350 to $1,000 is much more expensive. The ratio there is much more expensive, totally different than selling a ring like for $30, you know. So that was, again, you know, a very big challenge out there. That I took, you know, that I accepted as well, but I couldn't see growing at the pace that I wanted, and I said, you know, either I need like massive funding, which will dilute myself, dilute the brand, dilute my vision probably, and there's no guarantee there, or, you know, continue to work, you know, slowly, and there's going to be something at a certain point that's going to flash and come in and do the pivot, you know. And that's where we are now, basically. In 2019, there's something that happened. Everyone knows about it. It's COVID-19.
Unless you've been living under a rock.
There you go. And that made the trigger about something, because for a long time I was looking to pivot, basically, with GothRider into consumable goods, which means that I was going into supplement business or going to cosmetic business. And cosmetic was really something I was going into at a certain point. But there was coffee. Coffee, I've always been passionate about coffee. I got a book, and a book that I still read is all about coffee. It was published in 2001, and it was around like that time I bought it to get, enough knowledgeable about that. But I never had, I tried, to get into that business a couple of times. Didn't work out, didn't got the right partners and things like that. And finally, because I have this agency called Obvi, I was in contact with someone basically that had a coffee business, one of the biggest roaster in Quebec, and he needed help, and we started to get along, good friendship and everything. And when COVID came, I said, you know what? I can ask him if he would be open if I just white label stuff, and start, testing things. And he said, yeah, why not? Let's do it. Let's try this out. And in a matter of a week, everything was set up. Nice. The labeling, the design, the name, we did the whole redesign of the website, and we were ready to sell in exactly 1 week. Wow. And things went I would say like very good for something that, I entered in a market that was, yes, knowledgeable in theory, but not in practice.
Sure.
And we went in using like the techniques and marketing stuff that I've been using, for my clients and for myself, for the longest time. And we got good velocity, good traction on the product. And in a matter of a month, from scratch to also, I want to bring something is we're right now only selling in Canada, and especially much more into Quebec, which is about 7 million people. And it's not like the 350 million of US. And I will explain a bit later for that. But in the short term of time, we're able to establish that, sell for a quarter of a ton of coffee right now, more than 500 customers so far, and it's growing daily. And I think, first of all, I'm all in now in this because I highly believe, and I highly believe that I made the right choice, in jumping into that. One reason is because of the COVID-19. And the reason is not because it pushed me first to look for other opportunities, because basically selling jewelry, you understand very fast that selling jewelry in terms of when it is art time, nobody really will care about, paying thousands of dollars to wear jewelry that they will wear at home for themselves, except if it's a wedding ring or something like that. And you cannot do weddings right now. So, it's a bit like,
you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Exactly. And the things when I looked, very fast at the stuff, the stats, I could see like the coffee, first of all, is in a renaissance age right now. Coffee business is like beer business was 10 years ago. So people are starting to discover all the flavors and everything that comes with it. They're much more open, much more, they understand there's still a lot of education to be made, but they're much more open for that. And on the other side also, it's one of the things that people still consume. Whatever, it's going to happen. It's a consumable product that is going to live, has already been lived through the age, but it's a need, it's a need.
It is a need. It's a consumable and highly addictive.
Yeah, exactly. Highly addictive. Yeah, it's a legal drug, basically.
It's a legal drug. So you're saying you're a legal drug dealer, Phil?
Hey, here we go.
Yeah, I went there.
Cut that. So that was some sort of revelation. And also by bringing that, I said, and this is what with one discussion I had with one of my clients basically is, when you're building a brand, think it as own person, as his own personality, as something by itself. Don't think as a brand, as a product. Product change through the time. You can have a product now that's going to work, but tomorrow is not going to work. But when you sell a persona or you sell a brand will just pivot from a product to another, but people will stick with the brand itself for what it it transmit, in terms of values and all this kind of
Sure.
stuff. So basically, this is what I was saying to the clients. I put it back reverse to myself and to the brand, and I said, GothRider is not anymore about, selling rings or T-shirts or whatever. It's about, the lifestyle that we're building around that. It's about the values that we're building around. And today is coffee, and probably coffee will stay there forever, but we will continue to grow in the consumable goods. We're already thinking about, whiskey, energy drinks, and anything that can make people feel good, alert, and have fun and enjoyable and leave free, because that's all about it, So that's the whole idea behind that, and it's just the beginning now, So I'm super excited.
Of course, and you touched on it's about the feeling that it emits, the feeling that the user gets when they're either committed to that brand or they're using that product. When I studied marketing, I actually did a marketing degree, useless possible degree because the platform's changing, the landscape changes. But one thing that did stuck in my mind from the lecturer, he always talked about the augmented product. It was actually what the product represented behind the actual physical aspect of that product. That's why people choose Nike over Adidas, because it's that feeling that they get, is that being a part of a tribe that they're with when they buy that product. And, I can see that, your branding is very strong. It's very part of a niche, from GothRider when it was a jewelry to now when it's a coffee. And, I think what you're doing there is phenomenal in the sense that, if you push that and people feel that when they have a cup of gasoline, is it called gasoline coffee?
Yeah.
Gasoline. Like, look at the name, like, unreal. I'm having a cup of gasoline. It automatically gives them a sense of identity or a sense of tribe being. So, and I'm a firm believer in that. You're building out the augmented product and what it represents from its, more than what its physical form is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think you touch a point. Is what the product needs to be an extension of the brand, but shouldn't be the brand. And you can see that also with Coca-Cola. They have a lot of value, but for sure, when you look today at their product, it's only sugar. There's nothing
sugar water. Brown.
Sugar water. There's nothing attractive about that. If you were selling that plainly, there's nothing attractive. But all the values that they're trying to share when they do ads or anything like that is where you get, that connection. Basically that connection. And this is where, the strong, and I love, the Nike part, because Nike also, it's another brand that inspired me a lot in terms of marketing, imagery, and all this kind of things. And you can see how basically Nike went from, equally probably to Adidas or other to another level is when Michael Jordan came, and Michael Jordan was inspiring people, but also showed people, hey, when you put that shoes, you can jump higher than everyone else. You can fly, So that opens the whole vision, the imaginary images that you can get out of that, and that's where the strength of marketing is where you're able to create that kind of connection.
So you mentioned previously you came from like pirated radio, so you were the original Netscape, and then you went into sort of your guerrilla-based marketing, which I'm a huge fan of. I think grass level marketing, hitting the pavement, whether it be trade shows, experiential marketing, really connecting with the audience. Like, I'm a firm believer in that. Then you've gone through that process of going into the digital space, where obviously that's your area of genius, that's your expertise. With the increased costs of CPAs, a plethora of advertisers coming on board, more merchants, everything is increasingly becoming more expensive. Do you feel that the trend of the market or the smart move is to sort of pivot back around into those traditional routes of marketing and use that alongside with your digital marketing?
Absolutely. I think it's complementary. And what I'm seeing right now, basically from either other clients or people that I'm talking, is soon as they do, let's say, postcard, they send postcard or they get into magazines, they get this sort of surprise from, I mean, the customer is surprised and say, oh, he sent me a postcard. So they get much more, I would say, quality attention to their ads than just an ad that is there again on Facebook, which scrolls and disappear after a few seconds, So I think to reinforce your brand, you absolutely need something that is physical, I would say, and old school, because people still feel very attached and nostalgic. Let's say, if we can see that word, like they can find a nostalgia around that kind of thing, and that again reinforce everything. I really like what you say. Again, also about guerrilla marketing, being on the field, going to trade shows and things. One thing that basically a lot of marketers forget is. And there's a reason why, and it's very simple. Is today we are used to get instant gratification.
It's work. It's hard work. People don't want to work.
No, exactly, and it's expensive. I did it like a couple times. Got sponsored an event here for GothRider, the Harley Davidson show that there's every year. I did that twice. Spent a couple of thousands of dollars. I mean, I got like zero sales, zero basically returns on that. But I met a lot of people, and I think that the value of entering sometime in some places or just getting into networks of people you couldn't have, it's worth paying. And that's basically how I decided the second time to go in it. Is not, I knew that I was not going to make any dollars or anything, but I said, you know what, I'm going to pay there. I'm just going to get more near these people so I can get along and start building relationship that will probably open much more door, And sometimes you have to look at that instead of saying, I'm buying a booth there and I might have clients. And even like when you're doing that, here's a quick trick: is get out of your booth and start, going around talking to other people.
You mean you got to talk to people?
Yeah, exactly. Here you go. You need to, yeah. You have to talk to people.
Wow. So no more typing. You've got to go out there and actually communicate with your potential customer. I think this is what puts off a lot of people from doing those traditional marketing methods.
Absolutely. And even now, I mean, and that's one thing we're going to work. I'm not very good at that. I will say, and I'm working to find someone that goes and do that for me. But basically entering into physical stores, at a certain point, getting distribution deals as well. But that's very one-on-one deals. It's real people that needs to meet and make deals. It's not just putting ads online. And this is a huge value because this is where you start getting more than one pillar to support your business.
Sure.
So, a lot of people now are talking, okay, let's go online and let's do only business online. Yeah, I mean, that is good. I mean, but you still need at least a good proportion of your sales on the standard or traditional distribution channel, which will support you in probably bad time or vice versa, or even help you to get much more volume, which lower your costs, and you will be much more aggressive to get new customers. So there's multiple strategies that are there. It's why you cannot use only one. I think it has to be played together, like Amazon. You should be at least on Amazon, at least to get visibility there. You should be on eBay. You should be everywhere. It's omni-channel now. That's what it is.
100%, I agree. And I think, you've got to, with all business, you've got to operate at that macro level and that micro level. And what I mean by that is that macro level, when you're looking at those different revenue channels, revenue streams, yes, you've got your wholesale B2B. Yes, you've got your online marketing. Yes, you've got, might be other distribution, opportunities. Then at an online level, not only relying on Facebook, because we know that's a big no-no, just relying on one channel, because at any given time that can bottom out for you and then, collapse your business. So, you've got Facebook's running traffic. You've got Google ads. You've got email marketing backend. You've got Amazon as another channel that are all feeding in. And as you said, omni-channel marketing is the only way to go moving forward. If you're reliant on one channel, you are at the mercy of that particular platform, and your business model is essentially redundant. It's funny, something that you mentioned as well, and I'm excited for you to see this. My background in business back in 2007 is I had we started a fitness accessories company. So we manufactured belts, gloves, wrist straps, all that sort of stuff that aided the lifter. And my first role was hitting the pavement and going to the stores with a box and just going, here, check out my shit. Would you like to buy it? Stock it in your store, sell it to your customers alongside, buckets of proteins and things like that. And, we built that up just by that model, guerrilla marketing, either cold emailing, cold calling, cold visiting, to stocking 100 plus stores within Australia. And it was phenomenal. And that was before we even did any e-commerce, anything like that. And, it works. And I think, obviously now we're in turbulent times with coronavirus and so forth. But once that subsides and we sort of come back to somewhat normalities, I think, that's a very sound business model to plug into your existing business.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no choice. It's part of the growth phase also, because the other thing you need to understand is there's still just a very small portion that are buying online. Yeah, we probably doubled the numbers in the past couple of months, but it's not 80% of the people on the planet that buys online.
As much as we like to think as online marketers.
Yeah. Exactly. So, we're so much by ourselves, we're so much. And since we're in this industry, we think that everyone buys online, but that's not true. And that portion that doesn't buy, and there's youngs, there's olds, there's, different, and for multiple reasons, they still buy stuff, So you need to be there where they are to put your stuff in front of them. And that's the only way. So you need to be at Walmart, because Walmart's probably the biggest chain in America where you can sell almost anything and they have a chance to see your products. You probably need to be at Costco, up to a certain point, because it's another big chain, and all the other ones also, if you want to grow. If not, the other way to grow is to get or introduce new products, and in other markets. So yes, there's multiple ways, but if you have a very good distribution channel, you have very good deals, and these either distributors or merchants or reseller loves you, it's again like clients, it's again like direct clients. If they love you, they love your experience and everything, your pricing and everything, they're gonna buy any kind of stuff from you over and over. Whatever you're gonna sell, they're gonna go over and over. That's for sure. So that's building relationship is as good for direct clients than business to business as well.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that about building relationship. In our last interview, that was a hot topic, and the thing that came up about business, and I'm a firm believer is that business is essentially just building relationships and value exchange. And if that's aligned, then everyone's happy.
Exactly. 100%.
So let me ask, where to now with GothRider Coffee? Are you looking at dominating the market with the one product, or so you're looking at sort of scaling vertically, or are you going to introduce more products and sort of really scale vertically and gain more market share that way? What's the plan with that?
So here's the strategy that we're building right now. Short term, the goal is have less SKU as possible. So right now we have 2 SKU in coffee. And the difference right now is only the blend, not the blend. It is ground or rolled bean, and we're gonna have a third one, which will be an espresso type, But later on, we will introduce 2 new other coffee, because we found out because of the education part, and our coffee stands in terms of pricing, but it's a very premium blend, Italian blend from Ethiopia coffee. And we found that there's a part of the market that finds it expensive, which is when we compare with the competition, it is not at all. But there's still, and that's part of the education part. So we are looking to introduce later, probably at the end of the summer, 2 new products, which will grow our SKU probably to 9 different SKU in terms of coffee. And then we will stick to that for I don't know how long, but for sure for coffee, we'll stick to that. We don't want to get too large. So we'll have one blend that is from Brazil and another one, if I remember, Costa Rica and Nicaragua. We have to double check because it's going to be I don't know. It's going to be bio, like GMO.
Sure.
Like,
which I think it needs to be these days. There's too many people that are too conscious about that sort of stuff. So
and we found out that especially on the woman space. So if you want to acquire women, and we've been like super surprised because the designs and everything is very toward men's badass men and all this kind of stuff. But we found out that 35% of our customers right now are women that identify them to badass woman, and they like the design, they like everything about it, which is great because it was not in our in what we thought, at first. So that was an amazing discovery, and we want to build a product for them as well. Then the next step after coffee, there will be other consumables that we'll be working on. One thing I really would like is to get into whiskey. And the reason is I love whiskey also.
Me too. Me too.
There you go.
I'm a self-proclaimed whiskey connoisseur. We can do a whole podcast just on that. Believe me.
Yeah. So and the reason again, is very simple: consumable products. And it's something that is highly consumable, is growing. It's the whiskey products and the micro distillery are growing as well. So much more people are getting educated, and that's a market like in our times that still work, and that's one thing I decided, is next products that I want to sell are could they be sold in the hardest time possible? If the answer is yes, I will go inside it. If not, I will have to double check, to be 100% sure if that could stay, because right now the markets that are still, working great are for sure coffee, alcohol, and a couple of other stuff there, for sure. I mean, like we've seen like grow in the fitness market, but soon as the COVID and everything's it's gonna crumble down. People are not going to do gym at home. We've seen that for many years. You've been like in that space for all over. You try to push people to do gym at home. They try to do that for a couple months, and after that they go back to the gym or they just abandon.
The novelty's worn off for me a long time ago, so I can't wait to get back.
Yeah. So that's it. So that will be, where we're aiming with GothRider. In terms of marketing, we will continue, doing like the basic stuff in terms of Facebook, Google. We want to get much more into the influencers. So we're trying one local influencer this weekend. So I will see, if that drives good traffic, but we want to double on that. I mean, I've seen like other companies. I think we were sharing that on the Cartels Mastermind, but Bang, Bang energy drink. I mean,
massive.
It's massive, and everything is on influencer marketing, and he did it right for the right audience. That's one thing. I mean, this guy understood really and precisely how to reach his audience, and that's how he grew so fast. Almost out of nowhere. You started like seeing like that brand everywhere, So I think there's a great opportunity, and for us, I mean, probably also in similar space, since we're selling energy, badassery, and all this kind of thing, So and after that, yeah, for sure, distribution. So we're already working with some people that wants to help us to get into stores and coffee shop when it's going to be open, and grocery stores and all this kind of thing. So that's going to be another big thing. But for sure, this year is going to be 100% dedicated to coffee, and we will put aside our jewelry business. We'll only take custom work basically, and we won't develop new designs or anything, just to focus 100% on the coffee side.
And I can see right now you've got some merchandise up on the site there, which obviously there to complement the whole imagery behind the brand. Yeah. Is that something that you're doing as another, I suppose, added extra revenue stream, or is it for more promotional basis?
Yeah. So basically one thing we found out very fast, and like I said earlier, is coffee by itself it's hard to sell because it's a replacement market. So if you're already used to buy your coffee from a coffee shop or anything like that, forcing you to buy a new coffee without tasting it, without, trying it, it's hard. People are good, in their habits. They don't want to change too much.
Of course,
So
yeah.
we had to find a way to force them to try. And we found out basically that it was by doing bundles with things where they could put like some extra value. So right now we did like 2 bags with a mug for a bundle price, if I remember, of $77, a value that is much more than that. And people, we sold 100 mugs in about 1 week, less than 1 week. So, and I think we can double down on that. Now, it's just about, getting these mugs done in batch, because now we're going to do 500, 1,000, that we are going to get. But, and right now we're running another type of promotion, which we give a bracelet for free, a skull bracelet for free, with 2 bags of coffee. So that's the way how we turn, we use different angles to force them to buy or to create like some sort of higher perceived value.
Sure.
It's gimmicky, I would say, but it works.
Exactly. It works.
Exactly. And the only thing I want is to have their bags of coffee at home so they can see it, they can try it. And if they like it, after that, it's a no-brainer. They're going to buy it. And that's already what's happening. I'm seeing like people that tasted it and they're just buying. They buying like multiple bags, not even on going on subscription yet. They just buy a bunch of, and that's really encouraging, from that standpoint. So we know we have a good quality product that can compete with anything. It's just a matter to make people try it.
Sure.
And once they try it, they just don't want to go away from that, And even if it's more expensive, that's the point. The other thing also where I think we're different apart is in Canada, there's not a lot of choices right now in terms of same type of coffee. When I look at my competitors in the United States, you have Bones Coffee, you have Dead Wish, you have Black Ruffles, you have a bunch of other guys out there that are in that kind of space. And in Canada, we don't have that much that are as aggressive as them, So for us, Canada it's still a very good test market. And it's going to be easier for us, when we go to the United States very soon, to start selling the coffee, and maybe to Australia as well. We have to look into that.
You have a regular user here if that's the case, by all means. 1, because obviously I'd love to support your business, but 2, I'm an avid coffee drinker. So,
Nice.
you throw me a cookie and you get me hooked, then I'll be a fan for life.
Here we go.
It's on that note as well. Because you've got a consumable product, and it's one of those things that, like you said, you've got to get it into the hands of the users. And what we've seen in the past with this type of product, not that I've directly been responsible for marketing coffee, but supplements per se. We've done a lot in the supplement space. It really comes down to experiential marketing, where people can actually try, taste, get used to the flavor, get used to, whatever the quality may be. And then that's it. You've got a fan for life.
And 100%. And you can see that with even like the usual drinks, you can see Red Bull. I think Red Bull are probably one of the best because they're still doing guerrilla marketing still today.
You see the Red Bull cars drive around and they're giving out their free cans.
Exactly. They're still doing that. So, and they're probably one of I think they're the biggest, energy drink company in the world. And there's a reason for that. They know their numbers. So basically, you just need to replicate. But I would say the big difference with coffee is just a bit difficult because it's not a bottled, drink, for now, let's say. But for that, people need to get their ground coffee or their well-being to do some work with that. And we're not like an Nespresso, Nespresso, the capsule, the machine, and the brand, the great branding also they have, it's probably, at a certain point, again, more easy for them to enter in markets that they have. And also, I mean, they have the big money there. So, you know, it's totally a different dimension when you're at that point.
Hey, Phil, listen, I really appreciate it. Mate, I think this is the least talking that I've had to do in any interview so far. It's fantastic. You just sort of give you a little bit and let Phil go. Hey, listen, if anyone wanted to, you know, try GothRider Coffee or get in contact with you directly or find out a little bit more about Hub the agency, you know, let us know, let the listeners know some details. Firstly, where can they get Gasoline Coffee from? What's your URLs for that? What are your socials? What, you know, lay it out, drop some information for us.
So it's very easy to get the coffee. You get on GothRider.ca right now. It's available, you know, everywhere in the world. We're just not supposed to ship, but we ship on the ground. You know, it's just
you've got runners.
Yeah, exactly. We've got runners that does it up. But basically, right now we can sell only in Canada, but in the United States is going to be very soon. We're just waiting for the FDA approval. Same thing for Europe, and same thing for sure for Australia. Things that we need to take time. It's just a matter of time, you know, getting on that and getting like the right papers signed and done. And so you can follow me on my Facebook page, which is on facebook.com/GothRider brand, or on Phil Kyprianou as well. Facebook/Phil Kyprianou. There you can reach me out anyhow, or if not, you know, send an email to Dave. He's going to put you in touch with me easily.
Thank you very much. Indeed. And just a quick little plug for your groups. If you want anyone to jump over into your groups, I know you give a lot of value in that. You know, you're very generous with your time and the value and keeping people informed of you know, what's happening in the world of e-commerce and marketing. I know at any given time, people just go, Phil, what's the software or app or something for this? And then Phil knows. So you're a world of knowledge. So, what's your group where we could potentially reach or join if need be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can come on my new group that is called UpV Nation. So you just type UpV Nation on Facebook on the search bar, and you're going to get that. Quick reason I did that, you know, is just because the other group was very old. The algorithm changed a lot, and things that I was posting was not getting reach as normal. So I decided to create a smaller group with very dedicated people that love, you know, e-commerce. And this is where I get online and share stuff about what's going on. I do normally almost like a weekly webinar there or a weekly live Facebook Live where I share like the latest news. I'm going to do one tomorrow about the latest news, also about Shopify, because they just released a bunch of stuff that's super exciting. So I will go around and just, you know, comment about it and tell, you know, what can you do with that and how you can use, you know, that new stuff that they just released. So that kind of stuff I'm going to do.
Fantastic. Hey, Phil, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. It was really great hearing your story and also really great picking your brain, buddy. Until next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Au revoir. Ciao.
Thank you for listening to Staying on Point. Tune in with us on our next episode as we dive in, interviewing other fantastic guests, finding out exactly what makes them tick and how they've achieved their success.